when I look like unhealthy and shitty, I can make myself look like I'm not unhealthy and shitty.
Yeah, it's called blush, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The old girls do that.
yeah. Because like my normal look is like, even when I have a tan, it's still like kind of vampire-y. Although, well, I can save all this banter for when we're actually recording.
Oh well. Okay, well, I started recording, but I'll do an intro, and
Okay,
we'll edit it. I'll say,
all
welcome
right.
to the debut Sterzinger Steele show, or it's probably Steele Sterzinger show, or as I like to think of it, the SS. But
I just call it nuts to you, but
that's all right. Maybe nuts to you. We're still kind of finding our vibe, so to speak. Um, but this was actually, believe it or not, this was actually Anne's idea, because she enjoyed our banter one time when we spoke, and she was like, "Yeah, we maybe we should record some of this stuff, and other people might find it as funny as we do." So this is it, and this is a debut show, so there's going to be some bumps and stuff like that. And we'll probably start streaming it, and there'll be video, but for right now, this episode's just going to be voice only, which is too bad because Anne's actually naked right now. But
comforting cats.
and
Yeah,
and yeah,
I, my
she's post
first
boob
joke was
job.
gonna be, I was just gonna be like silent for the first few 15 minutes, waiting for you to like become uncomfortable. And then I was gonna reveal that I'm actually someone you dated in 1987, and I'm here to stonewall you and embarrass you so that you look bad. But since we immediately started chatting, the whole stonewalling thing wasn't going to work. So my first joke I planned didn't work. So with that stellar beginning, let's move on.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I know that you one of the things that you wanted to do was review porn films. Now that you're living in LA, I understand that you've taken this huge interest in it, and you've kind of you've met lots of porn stars at the coffee shop. I understand where that's kind of there's a gathering place near where you live where they all kind of hang out. That's correct.
Not really. It's more called Craigslist. Um, you're joking, but I'm actually looking into a job in well, basically it's babysitting a computer, but technically it's doing sound on a porn stage.
So you're gonna work as the to dub the movies. You're gonna do the oohs and the ahs and harder baby harder.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, the bitch with the boom mic, like, like sticking it in between her boobs and being like, can we get some like boob brushing sound effects? Like, they're big enough. Slap them together, baby. Come on. Like, you
Come on,
spent the
baby. Come on.
money. We need the sound effects.
Yeah, yeah. The boob jobs. That's I wonder if anyone's actually done this study. They probably have because they've done a study and everything. Is what percentage of porn stars have fake boobs and what percentage of them have real boobs? And how long after they enter the industry does it take to get the boob job? Like how long does it take to save up for that? Or do they like go to the bank and they say, this is how much I earn per scene. This is how long it will take me to pay back the money. If I get a boob job, my rate will go up by this much.
Well, the thing is, though, like, if a lot of people who end up in the porn industry, I think in LA end up in it because they moved here because they're like the most talented kid in their high school's drama club and they think they're going to be an actor. And they get here and they're like, well, every most talented kid in the drama club in the entire United States is in this same city. So I have to do something to pay the rent. So they wind up in porn films, and so they don't really need to save up for the boob job because most of them already have all the cosmetic surgery they want done before they even like give up on real acting.
So, like, instead of getting a car for graduation from high school, they get a boob job or something. I mean, like,
Yeah, they're like, Daddy, I want to move to, or I already live in LA. I want to become a movie star. And like, he's like, well, you're gonna have to get a used car if you want like the whole lips and tits package. So if you like, what?
lips and tits. That's funny.
I can drive a used car. The other day, somebody I was maybe thinking of dating gave me what I think he thought was a compliment. He was like, nice lips. Are they real? And I was really confused for a minute because, I'm from the Midwest. And so, like, if you're in the Midwest and your lips aren't real, that means, like, you were in some kind of terrible accident and they had to make you lips out of pig assholes. And so I was like, geez, do I look that scarred and fucked up? And then I realized, oh, like, plastic surgery is, like, a social norm here. So it's something that they discuss like small talk, like you would discuss your pets,
Well, that reminds me. There's a famous scene in the movie. It was with Steve Martin. I think it was called L.A. Story, and he's going out on a date with who is the chick from Sex and the City, the main one, the star, the one who looks like a horse.
The horse one, I can't remember any of their names. You know how I am with actresses. I really don't give a shit.
But you know who I mean, though, right?
Yeah, the horse, like,
yeah. So he there's a scene where he grabs her breasts, like they're dating, and he's like I guess it's their first date, and he's like, your breasts feel weird, and she goes, oh, that's because they're real. Because in LA he had never felt real breasts and whatever, so everything was fake. So
yeah, well, I've slowly realized that, like, when people say you have, like, I like the work you've had done in your lips, what they really mean is, bitch, haven't you gotten a nose job yet? Like, that's where you should be putting the money.
Well, actually, mainstream actresses I've seen the lip things, and some of them, it always looks like a clown to me. Like they look like the Joker when they get it. I can't remember the name of any of these bitches, but like I'm talking like mainstream actresses. One time they had the collagen injections. I think that's what it is, right? They inject your lips with like collagen or something.
Yeah, well, it's like any other addiction, You get the first collagen injection and it looks natural, it looks real, and it improves your self-esteem the way that first, beer and a shot improves your self-esteem. So then you make the mistake of thinking, oh, well, 5 collagen injections and 6 shots and 6 beers will make everything even better. And then you stumble out of the bar and you look like an alien and you're throwing up on yourself.
Yeah, and then you're like hanging out outside of 7-Eleven asking for like, can you spare $500 so I can get another collagen injection? Try to get. I need some more Botox, man. I need some more Botox. But by the way, I always wondered that Nancy Pelosi plastic mannequin face she's got on, is that plastic surgery or is that Botox? I was just always curious. That kind of permanent expression she's got going on. Because she's like 95, but she's got like this, her face. Just...
At that age, it could just be a stroke.
Yeah, maybe. The muscles are all paralyzed. That's why she never have any expression anymore. Just those eyes that blinking at you. But yeah, she creeps me out.
I haven't had any work done. It's just my face has been amazingly tight ever since that second stroke.
Yeah, I think that's probably. Yeah, she must have had a few strokes. I mean, well, speaking of politics, Bernie had a heart attack.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. So it looked, and Joe Biden, it looked like he actually was having a brain aneurysm during one of the debates when his eye turned, like the blood vessel burst in his eye.
Yeah, they say stuff like, catching a chill doesn't really cause a cold. Germ theory causes a cold. And then you're like, yeah, but the chill makes you more susceptible to the germ. Like, stress doesn't cause heart attacks. And then Bernie's like, yep. And then he passes out and you're like, well, maybe stress doesn't count as the only factor in heart attacks, but it sure as shit doesn't seem to help.
Yeah, no, actually, stress is, I think now they're admitting that like stress is probably, I mean, I think that's why like Trump is so healthy. He doesn't take care of himself. He's overweight. He eats whatever the fuck he wants. He doesn't exercise. But the guy's like healthy as an ox because he just doesn't give a shit.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's on drugs.
Really?
Trump, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's on drugs. I mean, think about it. He's as old as our parents. He flies everywhere all day long. He's always like leaping off a jet plane, giving a speech, like, dancing and prancing down a red carpet and then saying some shit to somebody and then like flicking starbursts at Angela Lansbury or whatever the sorry, she runs Germany. I got her confused with Angela Lansbury for a minute. It was an honest mistake.
Angela Merkel, Angela Lansbury, same difference. Yeah.
Angela Schmangela.
They do look alike, actually.
And then he's still up at like 4 a.m. tweeting like about his scrotum on Twitter, and you're like, there's no way this dude is not on meth.
Well, this is what I heard, and I remember it from years ago, long before he was in politics, long before he even flirted with politics. He said that he only sleeps 4 hours a night. And I know there are weird genetic people like that, because another person that is like that is Jay Leno. Doesn't sleep.
And Balzac was like that too, but Balzac wrote a lot of really awesome novels. Trump just writes really fucking nonsensical tweets.
Some of them are pretty funny. I got to give him credit. Every once in a while, he is a singer.
I heard about the one where he like photoshopped a picture of a Trump Tower onto, what was it, Greenland, and said, "I promise not to do this." That was.
Yeah, I think Greenland's owned by what, Denmark or something, and they got pissed off. I think caused an international incident about he was going to take over Greenland or something.
But then he'll send like this long ranting letter to Erdogan, and then it ends with, "Call me later," and you're like, dude, do you realize how gay that sounds? Like, it's all this tough talk, like, don't make a mistake, we'll come over there with our military and fuck you up in a secret code. Hey, Ernie, call me later. I got some poppers. We'll do them on your veranda. We'll sort this shit out.
So you pictured like Trump, the guy that like when he has a meeting with, some high level president of, let's say Erdogan from Turkey or something, he just breaks out the mirror and throws an 8-ball down on it with the picture Trump there with the razor blade and head in the straw, No, he probably rolls up like a $10,000 bill.
Boys, we will sort this shit out. People say he's Putin's bitch, but I think it's the other way around.
Well, I don't think Putin is anybody's bitch. Putin is truly alpha as fuck.
Well, they say it's the bottom who's the real person who's in control in the relationship.
Okay, you spent way too much time in LA. Are you hanging out with the gay porn stars too, or what? I mean,
actually, I'm mostly hanging out alone in my apartment with my cats. It's
okay. What's that? You got this light behind you. It looked like Christmas lights.
It is. It's.
Is it like Christmas light? Okay.
It's a dollar store decor choice.
Okay. They look like. Are they in the shape of like flower leaves or something?
Yeah, they're flowers. They're from someplace in Asia. They're just cute little flowers, and just hang as your lights.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I have to do that. Yeah. No. I don't really have any. I need to get some art. I do have a couple of movie posters, but that's it.
I've been freelancing here, so basically my life is the exact same as it was in Chicago, except that if I want to leave the apartment, I don't have to put on a fucking spacesuit. Which is why I'm looking for an office job, and before I became a freelancer, I thought freelancers who said this were full of shit. Like, you start to go crazy at home. And I'm like, no, I want to be at home. I wouldn't go crazy. I'm a loner. I like being alone. But the thing is, if you're a loner and you're allowed to work at home and you don't have any incentive that pushes you to go someplace else, you start to get really fucking crazy. Like, have you ever seen Red Dwarf?
No, I don't believe so.
You would love it. It's maybe I don't know. It's a BBC sci-fi parody, and it's about like 4 or 5 guys who are stuck in outer space, floating around in a spaceship after the entire rest of the human race dies, and they all hate each other. So one of them gets stuck in a time loop where he doesn't even have the other 4 guys around to keep him sane. So he's stuck in this time loop for a million years, and the other guys come back and they find him, and he's like dressed in a little Bo Peep outfit, and he's got puppets, and the puppets are talking to each other and threatening him and then threatening his friends. I feel like that's what's happening to me working alone in doing freelance alone in LA, because at least in Chicago I had a big enough apartment where I could bounce from one room to the other and, maybe invite some people over. Here it's like I can't invite people over because where the fuck would I have them sit? I had Scott Rosendale come over here, and like he and his girlfriend, like he could barely get his wheelchair in here because my apartment's so fucking small that there's like 2 inches clearance on either side. So we finally get him in here, and then I realize I have no table. So we're trying to play Scrabble on like a box. So I have to get a job outside of my house, or I'm just gonna.
Well, no, yeah, I get the point. If you don't really have any incentive, especially nowadays, because I was having this conversation, I think it was with Aaron one time. We were talking about how everything, like a lot of my work and stuff like that. I was talking about this is like 2 years ago. I had a business meeting, and I had to go down to their office, the contractor's office. It was real estate, just to sign the paperwork. But we did everything via, email, like, reviewed all the documents, right? I had the attorneys review, and actually, so what I went there was just pretty much, reading and just kind of like introducing it, would you like a cup of coffee, the whole thing. And it took like 10 minutes. And I remember the girl walked out to get the coffee or whatever. And he started talking to me and telling me about how he's getting married and all this. And I hardly know this guy, right? This is the first time we actually met in person. And I realized that things like that are because people don't really interact anymore. So their boundaries are all weird, because it's like, generally speaking, those are not the kind of things you talk about, like the Mariners, like the Seattle Mariners or something like that, or the Seahawks. You talk about the sports ball. You don't start talking about your love life. This is a very professional guy.
Oh yeah, like I'll find myself saying the most inappropriately personal shit to people that I literally just met 10 seconds ago because we're both stuck at the same red light because I finally had to leave my apartment to go get food. Or like, the longest I leave my apartment, I was almost late getting back here. I'm a little, my brain capacity is low because I ate dinner in like 5 minutes because I went for a 3-hour walk, like, because I lost track of time. I walked all the way there to Silver Lake, and I walked all the way around Silver Lake, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get back, I gotta eat. Like, going out for a walk is my, touchstone with reality. If I wanted to, I could just sit in here all day, order Postmates, and I'm in fucking California. I should be outside. I should be waiting for the train.
Yeah, well, but California is kind of weird because you don't have a car, and California without a car is weird. Just
California without a car is weird. I mean, I can get to the ocean, but the real thing that's weird is, they talk about the California lifestyle, and you can be outdoors and say hello. It's cool. You can just hang out on a park bench and say hello to everybody, man. But that was, a stereotype that started in the 60s. Now it's the 21st century, and any public space is the domain of schizophrenic homeless people. So unless, you can justify, unless you're hungry and you haven't eaten yet, and you can justify paying to sit in a restaurant where you can consume some food and do some work, or, you can justify spending $2 on a cup of Starbucks coffee when you could make it for 30 cents at home. You if you sit on a park bench, like 10 minutes later, you'll have 5 different homeless guys digging through your bag.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much what's turned into Seattle too. I don't know if you had a chance to ever watch that documentary that I sent you. It's long. Seattle is dying. For anyone who's listening, check that out if you want to know what's happened to Seattle. But I saw a funny thing. Speaking of the homeless people, now they're building benches in such a way that homeless people can't sleep on them, and they're I even saw one that they're sloped, kind of like instead of being at like a 45-degree angle, they're kind of sloped. So if you tried to lay down on it, you'd slide off of it. And places where homeless people would like sleep at night, they're building like they'll have like a stretch of pavement with a bunch of like not quite spikes, but like bumps. So it would be like way too uncomfortable to sleep there. Um,
First, it came for the skateboarders.
yeah, but, well, the homeless people. It's not. It's not. Let's be honest. I don't want to get too serious talk about this topic because I've discussed it with to death. Is the it's not a homeless problem. It's a drug problem. If none of these people were on drugs, that would be 95 or 99% of the homeless problem would be gone. Um, that's my feeling on that.
Well, part of it is drugs, and another part of it is, the whole. Oh, we were both going to watch The Joker. The whole deregulation of mental health in that period of time. What was it, 20 years ago now, when they started just, we don't feel like keeping crazy people in mental institutions anymore. We'll just let them out.
Yeah, that's probably an element of it too. There's a lot of schizophrenic, but I think a lot of these people, it's because I knew a person that was what do you call it, MSW, Master of Social Work, and he dealt with these people. And there's like tons of cofactors. There's mental illness combined with addiction, combined with the fact that they don't have any familial support system. So all these things taken together just create what we have now. And yeah, the mental health facilities are probably garbage. I don't really know a lot about it. I think it varies a lot by state.
Yeah.
But I do know these homeless people always end up in places where the laws are very tolerant of them. So there's, they're sane enough to know where to go where they get the gimme that's.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not so sure that LA has that many gimme that's. It's just that a lot of local judges just refuse to allow local law enforcement to kick the tent cities off the streets. So if people actually voted in their local elections and bothered to say, hey, I don't want a fucking tent city, like, you know how, I think I've told you about this before. I have a mental map of Chicago that like makes my brain sore because it's like, this is where I first met that shitty boyfriend, and this is where I first broke up with that shitty boyfriend, and this is where I spent all this time with that shitty boyfriend. That's where I got sexually assaulted. That's where I went after I got like there's like this brain bruise map of Chicago in my head. And there's, when I first moved to LA, I was like, woo, new city, beautiful. But now there's starting to be a brain bruise map of LA in my head because there's like, the underpass that you can't walk under in shoes that aren't completely closed because that the bubonic plague is getting your sandals, because there's no way to walk around the tent. Like you just kind of have to step over the tent or else you'll be run over by the traffic.
Well, you know what, Ann? I know what to get you for Christmas. It's a hazmat suit. So you can just wear that when you walk around. Actually, speaking of like diseases that are coming back, I heard I heard this from Beckloff the other night. Leprosy is apparently coming back to LA.
Oh wow.
Well, actually, I don't think it was ever not coming back. I don't think it was ever there before. I'm just
for our listeners who don't really know who we are, who aren't caught up on the past year of, well, I don't know if your life's been that exciting, but my life's been, I guess the word you might use would be exciting.
Tragic. I don't know if exciting is the right term. Exciting was like, is, I don't know, like a concert or I don't know. But anyway.
The year before that was exciting. I got invited to go to a couple of translators conferences in Europe, and I was giving speeches in French in Paris and in Andalusia. And this year it was more like, well, I was working in my apartment in Chicago and somebody came up behind me and raped me, and then it took the cops a really long time to even figure out who he was. So I moved to LA because I was afraid he'd come back and kill me. And the minute I got to LA, I had this roommate who I don't even know if he's still a mutual friend of yours, but anyway, he has about as many brain cells as I'm not going to insult my cat. Anyway, dude left the door open, cat got out, cat got fleas, and I got typhus. So I went from almost being killed to almost being killed, and that's been my experience of LA so far. So yeah, like my brain bruise map of LA also includes like the hospital that I was in when I was in a coma from typhus, and they thought I was schizophrenic because I couldn't tell them who I was because I hadn't eaten or drunk anything in 9 days. So then I woke up from a typhus coma into a fucking mental ward.
Oh man, that was rough. Yeah, you were out of commission for a while with that. Yeah, I remember you posted pictures of all those, like, is sores the right word?
Yeah,
Those.
well, because people didn't believe me. There were some people who were just like, she's still whining about being raped. She needs to get her shit together. Like, she's this and that. So I was just like, look, motherfucker, and I posted like my mainly naked body just so that you can see the extent of like, well, how I hadn't eaten. I was emaciated, but more so it was the like just eyelids to knees separating wounds, which wasn't even the worst of it. Like the first thing that happened was this cloud of fleas. It was like a fucking nightmare. I'm working on some freelance shit at night, and I look down, and this cloud of fleas just comes across the floor, and I'm like, is this some Burroughs shit? Has Edwin been slipping me opium? Like, what the fuck am I seeing? And I feel a bite, and then the cloud of fleas goes on. And like in slow motion, my leg just puffs into this purple flowering, and I fell asleep. Like maybe there was some sort of shock involved, and I woke up and my leg was like literally 3 times its normal size and just purple and covered in these like nightmare flower designs. It was like somebody had designed a terrible moo and then knit my leg out of it.
Ugh,
And then,
nasty.
yeah, it was a fucking nightmare. And then it started to spread to the other leg. So like I had these 2 big bloated cankles. Like man, that'll keep you away from McDonald's. Having like the experience of having cankles for a few weeks. Like, Jesus, this is fucking horrible. I can't even put my shoes on. I look like shit. People in the street are staring at me. So I took some antibiotics, but they didn't know what it was. And finally, I found a doctor who was like, "Oh, you got typhus." And I was like, "Oh, and what do I do?" And he's like, "I don't really know. Nobody knows. Modern medicine happened sort of after typhus. So here's some more antibiotics." And then the antibiotics blew out my digestive system, and I couldn't eat or drink. And so I slipped into a coma. And my roommate Edwin, who's probably still out there sabotaging events, and
Oh God, yeah.
and Mark Kersness they just like walked past me and ignored me. I remember Mark came into my room and he was like, "Girl, I need your rent from you." And I'm just kind of like blinking at him because I can't move. Like I literally couldn't get up to get the checkbook, and I'm staring at him like, could you bring me some Gatorade, Mark? Then maybe I can think about paying you some rent if I can move to my checkbook.
Now I'm having flashes of what was the mother in Les Miserables. Um, Victor Hugo's Les Mis,
Yeah,
the one, she had her daughter and she had no money and she's lying in the anyway.
yeah.
That was Anne during her typhus spell. So that was I keep saying to you that you need to make a sacrifice to the gods to make amends for whatever you did wrong in a past life. So you'll stop having this negative shit happen to you.
I got some I
yeah.
can right now. I'm gonna turn around and set it on fire. Just hold your horses. All right, setting the incense on fire. Sacrificing to the gods of fucking typhus and rape and whatever the fuck else is over the horizon. I'm almost amused to wonder what's gonna happen next. But that's just tempting the fates. Like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen next. Fucking, there'll be an earthquake, and this will be the one building that collapses, and I'll be buried in it for 3 days. Fucking drink my cat. Have to decide between dying and drinking my cat's blood.
Yeah, that would be a tough one. But you look at it this way, you got to have a Nietzschean view of this. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So you should be the fucking Hulk.
Well, strong motherfucker. I would not start shit with me right now if I were anybody.
Yeah, so there you go. Good.
And people still keep trying to start shit with me, and I'm just like, really? I almost died twice in the same year. I'm like one of those comic book characters that goes down to the underworld and comes back with like fucking leather boots and a bionic eye, and they're just like smoking a cigarette out of their asshole and just going, yeah, you want to start shit? Okay.
So now that you are in LA, you are established, you got your own, you actually have an apartment now. You're not B&B in it, Airbnb in it.
That's a whole different story. I'm so sick of telling all these stories. I'm not going to even get into that. Let's just say one of my dumb shit roommates there killed my fucking cat, which actually was the worst thing that's happened in the entire fucking year. Honestly, people think I'm crazy, but I would almost rather be sexually assaulted again than have that cat die.
Losing a pet is like losing a family member. Yeah, a lot of people. I never heard. Well, I don't know if it's as bad with dogs. They say that. I don't know about cats. I'm not a cat person myself.
Well, cats and dogs. A lot of people have arguments over like cat people are better, dog people are better, or whatever. But cats and dogs both kind of evolved with us in this sort of symbiosis where like dogs are hunting buddies and cats kill the animals that bring the fleas, which makes it pretty ironic that I probably got typhus from my cat this time. But most of the time, when the bubonic plague hits, I'll be good. I trust my cats for that.
Yeah, like didn't the Egyptians worship the cats because they kept the grain, they kept the rats away from the grain?
Oh, and you notice most plagues of any people in history. Why do you think Egyptians worship cats as gods? Because they had plague after plague after plague. And the cats were like, they didn't have germ theory yet. So nobody was keeping cats around on purpose to stop the plague. It just so happened that if you liked having cats around, you survived. The cat, yeah. So sometimes I wonder if cats didn't like engineer some of these plagues.
Well, did you ever read the the cat diary versus the dog diary?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's really funny. It was like a meme going around years ago on Facebook or something, and it was like the dog's diary was had breakfast, my favorite thing. Went for a walk, my favorite thing. Played with my master, my favorite thing. All the whole thing. And then the cat diary was my captors are tormenting me with these this horrible unedible food while they feast in front of me, and this gourmet cuisine. And
okay, I vaguely remember that now. Yeah.
And it's like I tried to kill one of my captors by tripping him in front of the stairs, but he survived. It's pretty funny. You can Google cat versus dog diary. It's pretty funny. Because I've had a couple times where cats have tried to kill me, not my own cats, but other people's cats. They'll purposely park themselves right in front of you and, try to trip you, and usually right in front of stairs.
Some cats are fucking evil. They really are. But I've had good luck. Like the male cat I have now, Stumpler, he's the dude. He's like like you look into his eyes and there's like a horse level intelligence there, you know?
He's one of the good ones. One of the good
Yeah,
ones. Not all cats are like that. So he's one of the
yeah.
good ones, I suppose.
Like some cats, you look at their eyes and they're just like, I'm inbred. But he's. I mean, you can tell he's part Turkish Angora, but he's part something else too, and he's got it on the ball. And I I don't know how long it's been since you've been in LA, but recently I've noticed that, especially at night, there are just cockroaches just casually fucking strolling down the street like, hey, I'm a cockroach.
Was that you that posted the sick cockroach with the cigarette?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, I've never seen this in a city before. Not even when I lived in the South. They're just casually fucking walking down the street along with the rats. Like they're just rats just running around. They're not even hiding. I got a picture of them. One of them the other day. He's like the size of a fucking terrier, but not at my house. You know, my neighbors are all complaining, like, man, this apartment building is so old and janky. And I'm like, I have never seen a cockroach in here. And I didn't realize why until the evening. Like, I picked up my wastebasket and there was a cockroach under it. And all of a sudden, Stumpler just fucking comes out of nowhere. And just all of a sudden, just the fucking bug is evaporated. Like, there wasn't so much as a feeler left. Like he just fucking evaporated that thing. This little dude is normally so mellow, but he saw that, like he's already got this intelligence in his eyes, and all of a sudden the eyes light up and it's just like time to make this go away.
The cat just doesn't like bugs. But enough about cockroaches, Anne, because we're going to be losing listeners if we keep this up.
Listen, we just started.
Well, yeah, whatever. So something interesting. So what else is going on? You're doing the gig economy thing. So you don't want to give any like very specific details, but you last time we spoke, you mentioned you had 2 possible jobs lined up. Any news on those?
No, I'm kind of hanging tight over the weekend. One of them is doing sound on a porn stage, and the other one is transcribing corporate communications in the middle of the night, which I can't think of 2 more diametrically opposed jobs, but either of them will get me out of the house and will allow me to meet people. Totally different kinds of people.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards the sound on the porn set just for the stories.
Yeah.
If nothing else, I mean, yeah, I mean that's just would just be wild. That you could invite some of the people you meet there on the show would be great. You know, the kind of crazy stories they would have. You know, being on a porn set, I'm sure like lots of weird things happen. I always kind of find that fascinating. Like 2 people show up like they don't even know each other. Like, oh, this is Candy. This is Bob. You 2 are going to be working together today. And then like 20 minutes later they're bonking. It's just with a guy with a camera and a girl with the boom mic.
Yeah, although the guy who interviewed me was surprisingly thorough and a little bit defensive about how safe and like ethical porn actors are. Like there's so much paperwork that they have to fill out to show that they don't have diseases. That like porn actors are actually kind of scared to have sex with civilians because they're so used to only having sex with people who have been tested within the last couple of weeks. I mean, these people get tested like, every couple of weeks. And if somebody in the community has a bad test, everybody fucking knows it. It's like it goes out over the APB like, boop, boop, boop. Cherry has, human.
Yeah, I think they sign away their privacy rights or something like that, so you can like
protect each other. So they sign them away voluntarily because they don't want to catch AIDS, but they're so used to being in that milieu where they're just like, all right, we're gonna bang and we're not gonna worry about STDs or pregnancies because we know she's got an IUD and we've all been tested, so off we go. And if they're on a date with somebody from the civilian population, they're looking at him and going, man, who knows who this guy banged last weekend? He could just be fucking crawling with syphilis for all I know.
Well,
So it's
also though, but
it's
like
kind of the
go ahead, you finish.
it's kind of the opposite of the way, you know, you would the stereotype would be. You would normally think like, oh, they're crawling with diseases, but no, they think of us as crawling with diseases.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. It's just kind of strange. Like, I'm just thinking, like, you use the word civilian, like someone who's not in the porn industry, but like, if I'm just kind of imagining that first date. So, what do you do for a living? You know, well, you know, I'm in property management or something. And someone else says, did you ever see Blow Bang #5? Yeah, that was me. It's you know, if I hear that, you know, I mean, I don't know, like how girls would feel about that. I don't know, guys. I mean, I guess guys, like, it might be cool, like, to say you banged a porn star, but like to have one as your girlfriend, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a special kind of like, you know, I got all the money in the world. I'm a whatever's trader. Like, I can make her stop doing porn if I feel like it, kind of guy to be like, oh yeah, I'm dating a porn star. For a girl to be dating a porn star, I don't know what the psychology on that would work. Like,
How was your day, dear?
I mean, if she's really genuinely not the jealous type, then she doesn't have to worry about performance because obviously he can do it. And hey, with her, he's going to be in a low pressure situation. So, of course, he's going to be able to keep it up all night.
Uh, that's your only concern. But no, I don't know. I mean, I personally myself, I couldn't. I would like to have that like on my bucket list. Yeah, I banged a porn star. I did bang a stripper, but you know that doesn't count really. But a porn star, yeah, I don't think I could handle that. That's just too, you know. Plus, plus for a guy, um, um, you'd kind of feel like you compete with that, and maybe girls too. I don't know.
You know, somehow I feel like you and I have had this conversation before. Like the relative merits, you know, morally of strippers versus porn stars, because like strippers get paid to like not actually have sex with people, which seems a little bit dishonest, but I guess porn stars get paid to not actually have sex with the people that are paying them. I guess actual prostitutes are the most honest of the lot, and yet they're actually the most stigmatized.
Well, yeah, but I think there's like a huge amount of crossover there. Like, porn stars generally are strippers too. Like, who was the one that said she had sex with Trump? I don't know. She was a porn star.
Oh yeah.
Well, I know she was busted at a strip club. They ended up dropping the charges. Her attorney was that Avenatti guy or Avenatti, whatever.
I think it depends on the person, but I think there's also a lot of like a little bit of friction between the worlds where like some strippers are like, you know, saying they'd never actually be an escort, or there are some porn stars whose activities sort of drift into escort territory. Like, this guy wasn't really making a porn movie, but he had a camera on, so I'm not.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess that's how you would beat the like prostitution laws. Is you just say no, it wasn't prostitution. We were filming it, you know. And so how would they? You couldn't enforce it, you know, unless maybe you were doing it parked underneath a bridge in, you know, in a dark, you know, whatever. That might. But then even then, you could say, well, I'm filming it with my phone. You know, I don't know. So
Although prostitution laws seem like one of those laws that only really get enforced when the cops really want to get you for something else.
yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, how would they, I mean, nowadays, how could they really bust you unless it's like a sting operation? Because, I mean,
Yeah,
everybody has the cell phones and, you know,
they're actually looking for the kilo of coke, but they pick you up for prostitution so that they can search your car for the kilo of coke.
yeah, I'm just thinking like the old days of like New York City where I grew up, like, you know, like if you see the movie Joker, where Times Square and stuff like with the streetwalkers and stuff like that. That they don't really have that now because you could order a prostitute like ordering a pizza now. So it's not like they're walking back and forth.
Although the guy who was interviewing me was telling me that that's actually changed a little bit since Craigslist stopped allowing prostitution on their platform.
Yeah, I heard about that too. Yeah.
So it became a lot less easy. So people kind of went back to strip walking. Strip walking?
Street walking.
Street walking.
I guess you could call it strip. Yeah, walking the strip.
Was it you that I was telling?
We talked about that. That because the street that I live on here, they do not that I live on, but that's near me. They have an area where when I first moved here in the '90s, it was notorious for streetwalkers, and then when the internet and all that came along, it pretty much disappeared. Also, the police started to really crack down on it because the neighborhood got expensive. But then now it's apparently coming back a little bit. But I think these are the real low end type of crack whore types. Not right. Like these are women that God. I mean, even if you paid me, I wouldn't sleep with them.
Right. See, I told you I live in this weird liminal area. Like, LA kind of excites me because it's the first city I've ever lived in where I can afford to live near downtown because there's a couple of shitty neighborhoods near downtown. And usually, like Manhattan and Brooklyn, and the rents are outrageous, but there's this band of just shittiness between downtown and Koreatown. And I live like right between the shitty part where like you've got Colombians frying eggs on the sidewalk, like literally on the sidewalk in patches of black gum and human feces and selling to people on the street. And then there's my house, and then on the other side there's like Koreans building skyscrapers and flying up them in jetpacks instead of using elevators. And like if I walk towards the Korean side in the middle of the night, I'm fine. It's like I'm walking down a mall in Brooklyn in the middle of the night. But if I take a right turn coming out of my house, all of a sudden I'm a hooker.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine when the sun is right above the horizon, but the minute the sun slips below the horizon, I don't know whether it's all females or just all Caucasian females or all Caucasian females who don't look that rich, but something like some intersection of whatever I am looks like a hooker the minute the sun goes down. And it's always like some dude who's really trashed. And I hadn't noticed this until I noticed the multiple, insulting $5 offers for blowjobs from super trashed guys.
$5?
Yeah, they'll be like, they'll show me $5. They've got like a 6-pack of beer that's worth less than $5 in one hand, $5 in the other, and I'm like, I guess that's a lot of money to you. I'm sure in a few weeks it'll be a lot of money to me too, but not right now.
Well, and there's an upside to this. I mean, you're not a prostitute, but $5 is $5. I mean, if you're ever short on cash, how long does it take to give a guy a blowjob? I mean, you could rack up some money if you were willing to put in a few hours work.
Yeah, I guess if I could get one of them off every 5 minutes, that wouldn't be a bad hour.
No, you're talking good money there, right? I mean, that's $10. What would that come to? That's $1 a minute. That's $60 an hour. So
yeah, I mean that's almost as good as being a licensed massage therapist. The only problem is like the amount of biohazards I would have to somehow get out of my oral cavity at the end of the night.
Listerine, I think that kills everything.
I think like 10 or 20 guys in an hour, especially guys who think $5 is a good price for a blowjob, we're beyond Listerine. We're at least gonna have to like I'm gonna have to jump a paramedic on his way home as I'm finishing up my
Well,
shift. Like,
you
dude,
could just up your rates then, and you'd get like a slightly less gross guy. People who could afford $15,
yeah,
and then Listerine would work.
maybe. Maybe I would still maybe think about at least approaching a paramedic and being just like, dude, do you have something stronger than Listerine? Because I've fallen upon some economic hard times, and I just like the guys I'm giving blowjobs to for $15 a piece. Just I don't know how many different kinds of chlamydia they might have.
Yeah, I'm not really. I'm not really up on the science of STD transmission through that act, so I don't really
And
know.
it's not it's like the common cold. I could get hepatitis, swine flu, cancer.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay. Well, maybe. Yeah. Maybe not.
if they,
That's.
maybe not cancer unless they use a lot of oral tobacco.
Yeah. I don't think. I
Except
don't think you
why
can
would
get
oral tobacco on your dick? Okay, not cancer, but lots of things.
lots of things. Okay. That's interesting. Good to know. You're taking the whole romance out of this new job you could have, but it's still a possible option if you're really falling hard times again. You'll always have that. That's one thing that women can do. Well, I guess gay men could do it too, but um, they probably for less. I'm guessing in LA.
Yeah, and the weird thing is you would think that this is a young woman's game, but actually the older I get, the more often I get approached for prostitution. I mean, do they suppose the young women have already got some kind of high-end escorting thing set up?
I don't know. That's interesting. That did this happen to you in Chicago?
Very rarely. Maybe the thing is it's just that people don't fucking walk in LA. And that's the thing.
That's probably it.
Like in Chicago, it's normal for Caucasian females to be just walking around after sunset. You know, I like to walk places, and LA is gorgeous, and it's a wonderful place to actually walk places, except for A, the dirtiness of the streets, B, the fact that no one else walks, so people think you're a hooker, and C, the fucking highways that you have to make your way around all the time. But
And the
it,
homeless schizophrenics and
yeah,
the crime and all that other stuff.
a whole host of things. But see, this is my aesthetic theory of LA. A lot of people are telling me like, how can you say LA is beautiful? And I'm like, well, A, I'm nearsighted, and B, I can compartmentalize my vision so that I don't really look at anything that's below like nose level, which is about where like trash castles begin. Trash castles is my word for like when homeless people build these really, like, saying they're tents or tent cities doesn't do them justice. They're like multi-room ranch homes
Yeah, no,
built.
we have them here. I know they're disgusting too. Yeah.
Yeah, they're disgusting, but they're 3 times the size of my apartment. Probably have more appliances in there. Like, there's people cooking on griddles. They've got a Christmas tree. Like, I don't know where they're getting the power from, but they're quite comfortable in there, except for the rats and the needle marks, which are festering, but then festering faster since your house is made out of garbage. Where was I going with that?
I'm not really sure. You were saying about how you can't see anything. People asked you why you thought LA was beautiful, and you were talking about how it's because you don't see
Yeah,
anything.
yeah. Like nose level on a person my height. I'm 5'7", 5'8". Like nose level on me is where the trash castles and the piles of garbage begin. If you don't pay any attention to anything below nose level, and even if they're taller than me, most homeless people are stooped over, so they're in that zone. they're like crawling in that zone, pushing their cart full of shit, and they're pushing it back to their trash castle, and they get to their trash castle, and they get in, and like, but if you look above that, it's all sunsets and palm trees and beautiful Spanish-inspired architecture and these, theaters, and it's gorgeous. So your ability to appreciate the aesthetics of LA totally depends on your ability to just sort of maim your own visual cortex to the point where you just no longer notice anything below your own nose.
Okay, and that's the trick. But I did want to ask you, I know you are a bit of a theater geek,
yeah.
right?
Like if you can ignore everything below your own nose, yeah, like it's you're in La La Land. It's beautiful. Oh, look at these classic buildings. Look at this classic architecture. The weather is perfect. And then you look down and there's like a rat dancing on a dead guy.
So yeah, it's above, up is fine, down is bad. But it is true that you are a bit of a theater geek, right? You're kind of into that kind of scene, right? You like plays and that kind of stuff. I was wondering if you checked any of that stuff out since you moved to LA.
I haven't yet because people here are more about the business. So small theater is kind of where people, I don't even know who the fuck is doing small theater because most people that you overhear are like, I've got an audition for a commercial. It's funny that I'm living in LA because I hate actors. Isn't that hilarious?
That is kind of funny. But because I know even Seattle, there's like a bit of a amateur theater scene, and I know there is in Chicago and New York.
There's a great amateur theater scene in Chicago. It's just that nobody can make a living at it. So
no, but they don't do it to make a living. They do it because they love acting.
Yeah, and then I know a couple of people who moved out here to try to make it, and they kind of got a writing job for a little while, but actually one of them moved back here because he couldn't find enough like large natural tits, and he really missed large natural tits, and so he had to move back to the Midwest.
It literally moved back because of okay.
Yeah, well, also because he just like the writing jobs that you can make at that you can get at the lower level. If your parents don't want to float you for years and years, you can't really pay the rent here.
Yeah, that's the thing about LA. It's well, I mean, there's a funny thing about LA is I don't know if it's still true about everybody pretending to be rich, but like they would be driving a Porsche, but they owe, they're like they're 3 months late and it's going to be repoed, and that whole kind of thing.
See, people aren't even pretending to be rich anymore. They're living like 4-2 apartment, which I wish I could still do psychologically, but after my last roommates gave me typhus and killed my cat, I kind of need to be alone for a while, which is why I'm living in a fucking box that's driving me insane.
Well, the roommate thing might, after you get established there and you get to know more people, you might meet some people who kind of have their shit semi together, and maybe you could move into a bigger place and maybe a slightly better neighborhood. Because there's always people looking for. LA is like that. The only thing is I'm guessing everything would be short term because no one's going to be signing long term leases in LA. It's very transient.
That's the other thing. Like I had all these great intentions of making friends, and I made friends with one of my neighbors when I first moved in, and he wasn't an actor, so I figured he wasn't going to be like moving on anytime soon. And all of a sudden, he just poof disappeared, like took his kid and was just gone. And I was like, didn't miss you? I must have had a friend. Okay, back to just having David Cole for a friend.
Yeah, well, David's not bad. He's a good guy, but you probably should have people more that you can, do things with. I don't think David does much before, well, I don't know if David leaves his house very often.
David's on his own no longer drinking journey, which I encourage, but also, By the way, if David's listening, I'm still totally into doing a podcast with you, David. It's just I needed a creative outlet, and John responded faster.
What do you mean? I was your second choice. Okay, that makes me feel good. But I won't hold it against you.
No, you actually didn't occur to me until we were talking on the phone, and I was like, shit. Because I hadn't thought of doing a podcast with you because the one attempt that we made to do a podcast fell flat on its face because we had only one joke and we
Your
tried to make an
boobs.
entire podcast. Yeah. Like it is hilarious that I have small tits. It's intrinsically funny, but the fact that we tried to make an entire podcast out of my having small tits was just a giant failure. So it never occurred to me until we were talking on the phone, and I was like, wait a minute. If we talk about more than one thing at a time, we can be pretty funny. And
Yeah.
also, I'm not your type, and you're not my type. So there's never going to be anybody who's like, I'm all butthurt because my podcaster doesn't want to marry me.
Yeah. Well, but then again, if you get the boob job, then you might be my type. But until then, no, you're like the negative A cup. So you're
Yeah,
you're from the Great Plains.
I can't get a surgery that's going to take like 20 years off my age and make me the kind of like, because you've told me this before. You're into the younger ladies.
Not like in a fetishy way. I mean,
Well,
I'm not.
no, but
I'm not like trolling the high schools or something. I mean, I like.
I'm not accusing you of pedophilia.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I like.
I'm not your particular cup of tea, which in this instance is a huge advantage.
Yes. This is that is true. That is true. We're not. Yeah, and I don't look like the. I was like the pretty type of guys you like. You like the. Who's that guy? The Johnny Depp type of look, like the skinny kind of pretty people.
See, I don't even know what you look like, but you've got me completely convinced that I'm not into you. Even though
Yeah,
I have
no,
no.
you're not. No, you're well for a lot of reasons we can't go there. But like if I had to give an actor and say like Russell Crowe kind of a look.
Okay. You're not going to tell me you're actually a woman, are you, please?
No. Oh yeah, this is a voice generator. I'm actually a woman.
Okay, because your last statement was vague enough that I was like, wait a minute.
You. No, not a. But hey, that wouldn't rule me out with you.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I do not like butch women. And
Okay, so your female type is like who? Like what famous person if you were
like Helena Bonham Carter, except when she was younger. I mean,
who's this?
Helena Bonham Carter.
Who is that?
She was in a lot of pretentious shit. She was one pretentious thing with Johnny Depp that you might have seen. Google her.
Okay, I'll look her up. But well, my wife.
She was in that who was Johnny Depp playing? The crazy barber who slashed.
Oh, Edward Scissorhands.
No, he was opposite. What's her name in that? Wow, this is the thrill.
I'm gonna have to Google her. Hold on a second. You said Helena.
Helena Bonham Carter. It's a hyphenated name.
Okay, hold on 1 second here.
My aphasia for proper names is really dragging the pace of this.
Okay.
Down.
Well, okay, she's got. Okay. I've seen her. She's older.
Yeah, she's older, but when she was hot, she was a fucking dish. Did you see her play Ophelia?
No.
She was in a production of Hamlet where she played Ophelia. I think you would have probably sold maybe half a pet to. I mean, she was a dish.
Okay, that's your type, and she has an odd look to her. Yeah, she does weird things with her hair. Is she kind of a redhead? I'm not dyeing her hair. I Google images now.
And I like this in men and women, the sort of like goth look where your hair and your face are totally different colors.
Oh, okay. It's like pale face, black hair kind of thing. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is why like living in Southern California, I'm starting to like lose my goth look because my hair is bleaching brown now and my skin is tanning brown. Like I feel like I gotta quit buying this Korean makeup because now I look like a fucking mime.
This is the chick, I believe this is the chick from Fight Club.
Yes, she was in.
Okay, yeah. No, I know her. No, she is not my type. I can't explain it. But I read the. So I think what ruined her for me was I read the novel before I saw the movie, so I had an image of. I'm trying to think of what her name was in the film or in the book, but it wasn't who I visualized. So I always thought she was really miscast. But she was married to Tim Burton, I believe. This
Yeah.
chick.
Well, she's there's just something about like she has those not fat but like angular wide bone cheeks with a tiny mouth that just makes it look like she would be like this amazing endless kiss. Like
Ah,
you would just fall into her face forever and it would take you weeks to come out.
interesting. Okay. So other than her, do you have another celebrity crush?
Well, I like your celebrity crush. She's
Oh,
cute.
Aubrey Plaza. Yes, Aubrey
Yeah, I
Plaza
keep forgetting
is.
her name. She's really hot, especially you. God, I can't remember the name of it, but it's based on the Decameron. There's a whole, a really quite clever. Of course, you can't do the whole fucking Decameron. It would be like a 10 Netflix mini series, but they did part of the Decameron, starring her, I believe, as a. I'm not going to say satanic nun, maybe a
Oh, you
witch.
mentioned something like this that she played.
Yeah,
Uh, I forgot. I didn't see it, but I'm
yeah,
anxious
like
to. So,
none gone bad, none gone very bad, and she's kind of playing her character from Parks and Recreation, but in a way more perverted way.
okay. Oh, yeah. She kind of has that quirk. She is quirky. There's a very
Yeah,
quirkiness aspect to her. I mean, I'm not sure. For me, it's her eyes.
yeah.
That
You know,
that
she actually looks a bit like Helena Bonham Carter. I'm surprised you're not into Helena Bonham Carter.
I don't know. I'm weird that way. There's certain girls that just do it for me, and I'm just like, wow. Because I'm usually not into, because she's like half white and half Puerto Rican, and I'm usually not into ethnics, with some very very rare exceptions. So I'm not really sure, but I brunettes is pretty much a common thing. I can count like on one hand how many blondes I've even gone out on dates with, but the. But I don't know. She really does it for me. But blondes generally don't. I don't know. Is hair color a big, like when it comes to girls? Is hair color a
I,
thing for you?
I don't really like blondes over the age of 18, and I don't like people under the age of 20. So, like, blondes really like that whole like zero pigmentation in the skin. You kind of tend to like get sun damage super early, and kids are dumb at that age, so they think they're invincible and they don't put on the sunscreen. So they're like 22, and you're like, oh, you already look like a suitcase. Pass.
Okay, so you go. So you prefer brunettes and girls, tall or short?
Um, tall.
Tall. So taller than you said. You're somewhere between 5'8" and 5'9". Taller than you?
Yeah, well, there like girls who are taller than me are hot in a different way than girls who are shorter than I am. I realize this is stereotypical, but like if a girl was taller than me, I would expect her to pay for the date and tell me what to do and be very interesting in conversation. Where if she's considerably shorter than me, I'd be like, I can pick you up and throw you on the bed, and that's pretty much all I want to do with you.
Okay, so a tall girl, it sounds kind of like a man then. Like what you want him to be interesting, and you want him to, pay. You want the more submissive role if you were with the tall girl, whereas you're with the little girl, you have more the dominant role,
Yeah.
the mistress misanthrope thing going on there.
Yeah.
But uh,
Yeah, but in general, men are just easier because like they already have the penis attached. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Hopefully, and hopefully it works. Um,
Yeah, but the thing is, men just aren't as attractive. So it's like do I deal with more work and bullshit, or do I deal with, well, the penis is attached and it's ready to go?
yeah, well, it's funny. I've spoken to girls that were, well, I dated a girl that was bi. I mean, well, they're always bi, but when they get into a relationship with a girl, they're like, never again. Like they're like, yeah, they're fun to play with, but as far as they always say they're crazy, and I'm like, yeah, well, now you know how guys always feel.
Well, yeah,
Um,
that's why, like, you can always tell like, there are very few actually bisexual women who are feminists, because we know.
yeah, you know that bitches be crazy.
Yeah,
Well, I
well,
always say that. I say, well, I mean, you're living. I mean, no offense, but I mean, you're nuts. You accept it and you own it. I mean, that's
yeah.
you're all good with it. And if from dating other women,
I'm more of a dysthemic.
no, hold on, say that again. You cut out for a
Sorry,
second.
I'm more of a, sorry, we keep overlapping each other. I was just gonna say, I'm more of a dysthemia mood disorder crazy than I am a bunny boiler crazy.
Yes, that's true. You have your own kind of craziness. You're not the bunny boiler. That is true.
So,
I dated a bunny boiler.
yeah, so I get into these relationships with the bunny boiler where, like she'll run roughshod over me with her fucking insane behavior, and I'll just sort of start cringing more and more into a shell of depression until I just flip out and tell her, no, I'm not fucking listening to the Indigo Girls again. You have terrible music. You don't even like music. You just want to make a political statement. And yes, I'm drunk. And no, I don't care. And I don't want to see you again. And then I never see them again.
That's well, I'm interesting. Like, I do know, like, as you told me a little bit about this, like some of the guys you dated in the past, you pretty much don't stay friends with ex-boyfriends. Like, some people like it always weirded me out how you can be good friends with your ex. Um, that's strange to me. I mean, I've had break up with someone we're still civil, but we're not like friends. We're not. Um,
Yeah, I've exchanged a few, like, civil words with Kevin recently, but then I remember, oh yeah, I had a straight $45,000 a year job with benefits and my own office before I made a plan to start working freelance and uproot my life and move to New York with you, and then you threw that plan out and just decided to move to DC and move and work for Tucker Carlson for $3 an hour. Ah, civil is the best I can do.
so that kind of killed it. But where I was going with this is that I was wondering, with girls that you dated, is it like after, like, post breakup, is it easier to maintain a relationship with girls that you after you broken up, because you're still both girls, or no?
Sometimes I consider actually changing my phone number.
Because of girls?
Yeah,
Okay, so you're saying they're worse.
crazier, yes.
Okay, so but even post breakup, they're crazy. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
just while you're dating. Okay, interesting. All right, so the craziness is it's all the time with you. Not you, but you, the royal you.
As females, yes. Well, actually, one, I started being friends with her, I think, 20 years later now, almost, on Facebook, and now we're pretty good friends, and on Facebook for Facebook friends, and she expressed sympathy when I was sexually assaulted, and I could see hanging out with her civilly, but it's been 20 years.
Well, what did she look like? Did she hold up well?
Oh yeah, she's still
Oh,
gorgeous. She's
cool.
she's like really good looking.
Well, there you
She's
go. And
she's
she
one of
didn't
those,
get married and have 5 kids, right?
no, she's one of those Irish redheads that, like, just for some reason sun doesn't affect her. She just stays perfect.
Oh, okay. Well, Beckloff will be glad won her number. Um, but well, with him and the redheads. But anyway, we're gonna end the show here on the note of Anne's very hot ex redhead girlfriend. But we will be back. We will be doing another show, and it will be better. This one was very spontaneous, unprepared, and Anne actually had lost her password to her Skype, so we were late to get started. So I was a little flustered. Uh,
We were gonna like belatedly sort of cash in on the using the Joker as ESO, but we can make it even funnier by making it even more belated next week, because actually I went and saw it the other night, but I kind of feel like I have to see it again before I can say anything about
so
it.
do I. It's weird. I was talking to someone else about this in a private phone call, and we were talking about the Joker, and I said, I can't remember who I was talking to, and it was a dude, and I was saying, I got to see it again. And one of the reasons, there was several reasons I got to see it again. One, that it's just, a lot going on, and there's different interpretations of it. But this is unique to me, was they so well recreated New York City circa 1981 that it literally distracted me because I grew
Wow.
up there.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was seeing, I was a kid, but I was young. I was 11 or whatever it was, but it was, I can remember, I can still old enough that I remember that well. And that was just kind of weirding me out a little bit. So I want to see it again, because like, the subway and everything, you know what I mean? Like they really kind of created that whole thing. And but I want to see it again. And I'm trying, because the whole thing about the movie is like, I don't know what your take on it was, how much of it was real and how much was in his head.
Yeah, and I had a similar experience, except that first, when I walked in to sit down and see the movie, I realized that they were showing it in like the biggest, most prestigious theater in the ArcLight cinemas in downtown Hollywood, and I was like, wow, this is pretty much the optimal way to view this movie, and I'm like getting the Queen's treatment. Like this is pretty awesome. And then like a pang through my heart, I realized this is the first time I've actually gone out to a movie theater since I broke up with Kevin.
Mm.
And I started like to tear up a little bit, and I sat down, and then the movie starts and they start talking about typhoid fever.
Oh God! All right, so that was your flashback. Mine was the subway scene. Yours was the typhoid fever scene. All right. So
Yeah.
so so we both had flashbacks, just different ones.
Yeah.
When we watched that movie.
So yeah, we've just kind of like, without even discussing it, we came to sort of a mutual decision to just see it again and wait till next week.
Yes. See it. Yeah. So we'll see it again and wait till next week. But anyway, for all three of our probably listeners right now, but hopefully that number is going to grow. We will be back again, and we'll probably be doing this like we're going to put this up on, I guess, like SoundCloud, and then also on YouTube. And there'll be visual aids on the YouTube one. You'll get to see the what was her name again? The one with the hyphenated name, the Tim Burton's wife.
Linda Bonham Carter.
Yeah, I'll put her picture up.
Put the pictures of where she's old. Put the Fight Club pictures.
Yeah, I'll put pictures of her up and stuff like that. See if I can get some good cheesecake shots of her. And who knows? Maybe we'll put a picture of Anne's ex on there. No, I'm teasing. We won't do that. We won't be toxic. But
I have some hot photos of him. But
oh, okay. Well, you can show it to me. Well, anyway, okay. Okay, that is the end of the show. Tune in next week to find out more. Same bat time, same bat channel.